A heartbreaking case out of Louisiana, a mother accused of the unthinkable, beating her own baby to death. The victim, an innocent 8-month-old boy, will never get to take his first steps, never experience childhood, never grow up. Now, his mother sits behind bars, charged with first-degree murder. On March 12th, officers from the Franklin Police Department were called to Riverside Medical Center after an infant was brought in with severe injuries. The child, later identified as Sterling Rogers, had both fresh and healing broken bones, evidence of prolonged abuse. Due to the severity of his condition, he was airlifted to Children's Hospital in New Orleans, where doctors fought desperately to save his life. But 5 days later, on March 17th, Sterling succumbed to his injuries. Authorities launched an immediate investigation, and just 2 days later, they arrested his own mother, 24-year-old Autumn Harper. According to police, Harper voluntarily made statements implicating herself in the abuse that led to her son's death. Franklin Police Chief Justin Brown stated that the infant's autopsy revealed fractures in the ribs, arms, and legs, as well as a fractured skull. Disturbingly, many of these injuries were in various stages of healing, suggesting that Sterling had been suffering for some time before his tragic death. Despite Harper's confession, key details remain unclear. Who brought Sterling to the hospital, whether Harper had a known history of abuse, and where the child's father was when these injuries occurred. Harper's mother reportedly told local news that her daughter admitted to harming the baby, saying she would sometimes cover his mouth when he cried. Authorities also noted that Harper appeared to have struggled with mental health issues, raising questions about her state of mind at the time of the crime. A look into Harper's social media tells a different story. Her posts portray a seemingly loving mother, with photos of her smiling with Sterling and updates about her pregnancy. Her relationship status shows that she was engaged, though it's unclear to whom. Records indicate that in 2022, Harper was married to a man who was not Sterling's father, but he tragically passed away shortly after their wedding. Harper is now facing the most serious charge possible: first-degree murder. Under Louisiana law, this charge applies to intentional killings, particularly those involving extreme cruelty or victims under the age of 12. If convicted, Harper could face the death penalty or life in prison without parole. Legal experts believe that prosecutors may pursue capital punishment due to the egregious nature of the crime. However, if evidence emerges that Harper suffered from postpartum depression or another mental health disorder, her defense may argue for leniency. If her attorneys claim an insanity defense, the trial could be delayed until she is deemed competent to stand trial. Sterling's autopsy report will play a critical role in court, as medical examiners will testify about the extent of his injuries and whether they could have resulted from an accident. Prosecutors will likely argue that the pattern of healing fractures indicates ongoing abuse rather than a single moment of violence. They will also attempt to establish a timeline, proving that Harper was the only person with Sterling when he sustained his fatal injuries. If convicted, Harper faces two possible outcomes: life in prison or the death penalty. Louisiana law treats child abuse-related homicides with the utmost severity, and when the victim is under 12, first-degree murder charges are nearly unavoidable. However, Harper's defense team may attempt to negotiate a plea deal for a lesser charge, such as manslaughter, to avoid a trial and the possibility of a death sentence. Ultimately, the case against Autumn Harper will hinge on medical evidence, her own statements, and any potential mitigating factors that could influence sentencing. But regardless of the legal outcome, one fact remains: an innocent child lost his life in a horrifying act of violence, and justice must be served.